One time for the one time. It's the family bloodline.
All right, what's good, family? Welcome back for another episode of the Wednesday Night Family Bloodline Podcast. Yeah, we back, and we got a humdinger tonight. We're gonna be talking about deportations and tariff fallouts, but let's get a quick catch up, especially with this hardworking man that's been out in these streets. We're gonna come to him second because I know he's gonna have to say a little something, Franz. But until then, Deuce, what's been up with you, man?
Hey, bro, my Warriors are in the playoffs, baby.
Oh,
We disbanded the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah.
We went against the Grizzlies. We went against Ja Morant and his shadow guns.
Yeah.
We went against the referees, man. We made it, man. We in the playoffs. I'm happy, bro.
That's what's happening.
That's you got to find your joys somewhere in life these days.
Right. I'm a Warriors fan. I haven't been able to watch any because what's going on? Because I refuse to pay for another streaming service or platform. I got to figure out how to pirate some shit again. So
I got you. I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Right on. I'm not doing this. Look, these tariffs.
Hey.
Let me stop. But yeah, that's good. That's good to hear. You back in the States. Safe.
Yeah.
Had a good trip, hopefully.
Wonderful. I had to tell you about it post show.
Gotcha. I'm picking up on what you laying down. Rich, you've been out here in these streets lately. You've been out here.
Oh, I'm trying, pushing.
What all have you been doing, and have you been making headway?
I'm still in court. I'm supposed to have court today. It got delayed until May. And yeah, the other side is trying to make me pay more money for a cross complaint that I did years ago when I did have an attorney that I had forgotten all about. And so they've brought this up in the last few months, two of the issues.
Strategy.
So we'll go back to court in May because I tried to amend that cross complaint.
Yeah.
Anyway, that situation. My appeals are still in the appeals court. I got a total of 8. First 4, I've done the opening brief. I'm waiting to get my information on the stuff I filed already that I've requested for the next 4. And we'll keep it going from there. I will be reinstated as the local 1000 president. Nothing's changed.
Okay.
And they're acting like they're fighting this return to work order. The current person who thinks she's the president, she's really a suspended vice president. So she's named for herself, acting like she's down for the people, which is a direct transgendered liar. That's what she is. Because what they do is they were already liars, but now they're trying to really convince you that their lie is really legit. So I'll call it a transgendered lie. Either you tell the truth.
Wouldn't it be a transgender truth teller?
Oh God.
Oh, you know what? I like how you said that.
Yeah.
When you transgender stuff, you open up everything.
Bro, it's like the multiverse in Marvel. Anything is possible.
Yeah. Well, you can transgender anything.
Yeah.
If you're born one sex and say you want to be another sex, you can do that in our great country. That's your freedom of speech. That is your freedom of speech.
I'm waiting for your butt.
No but.
It sounds like a butt's coming too.
Freedom. And along with your freedom of speech comes responsibilities.
Agreed.
So if you're born Becky or born Bobby, and now you're Becky, and that's just represents a small percentage of quote athletes. I understand that.
Yeah,
I do. So I don't want to pick on those who are transgendered. I have no fight with the gay community or the transgender community or any community. I want everyone to get respect for who they are. So only thing I'm saying to my union is I'm still your president. That contract's invalid. All this stuff you're running around pretending you're fighting Gavin Newsom is an absolute lie. You ran me out of office because he told you get him out of there. But I'm not done. I keep saying this. I will be reinstated. And it's so funny that I tell you this, James Glass Jr.,
My whole ass Christian name.
Damn.
because there was a person I met in my life years ago that told me about the power of prayer and asking God to show me through dreams. And that person was oftentimes criticized. I didn't criticize her. And so when I have the dreams from God telling me how my future is going to be, that's really me saying thank you to a person I met years ago who taught me to believe and to pray in that manner.
Gotcha.
I'm done.
That's powerful stuff, man. But I'm still, I'm hurt. I'm flabbergasted. I did not know that, James, you were a junior. I mean, I'm a second.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that, man. I'm gonna call you JJ from now on, man. I'm updating the name on my phone right now.
Yeah. I'm a junior, man.
Did not know that, man.
Yep, Pops lives up north and near the Shah.
I'm the second because my parents were young, 19 and 20, and my pops thought he was too cool to be called senior.
Yeah.
So they made me a second, which doesn't apply because second only applies if, say, my dad's name was David and my grandfather was Junior.
Yes.
We're using that name. It skipped a generation, right?
Oh.
My dad said, bump all that. I'm too cool to be called senior. And so he refers himself as Curtis Coleman, the original, and I'm merely just a copy.
God damn, that's sad. Jesus. All right, then. All right. Like my son is a third.
Oh, you kept it going.
Yeah, he's the third.
Wow.
So
that's your only son, right? Your only son.
Yeah.
You have 3 girls.
3 girls, 1 boy.
Yeah, okay.
All day. So yeah, he's the third, and we keep it going steady. So you hear the music, we about to get into it. I've been doing all right, good enough. That's enough about me. So let me start off with our disclaimer as always. Views expressed are those held by the author and do not represent any other organization, company, corporation, or entity. That is the disclaimer. And I'm saying that because I think tonight things might go a little differently. We haven't been able to air out our grievances or opinions here lately about the things that are happening. And so I think there's going to be a lot that's brought to the stage tonight. And we'll jump into it directly. The first topic we are going to jump into, we're delving into, is deportations. And of course, I put the name Kilmar Abrego Garcia because he's the most prominent. Now, there have been other other citizens or other people who have been deported. And it has yet to be, I don't want to say it like that because that's not the truth. I'll say it this way. It has yet to be seen if the current administration is going to take the ruling of the judge over this case or any other case similar to it and bring that person back to the States, or if there's going to be a continued push to essentially say he was MS-13 or God dang it, or they were gang members or criminals or terrorists, so on and so forth. And so they have no reason to come back again. I will say this, however. And you can quote me on this day in, day out. If you see me in person, I'll say it too. Fuck Stephen Miller. With that being said, let us
Wait. Did I hear you say that you disagree with the actions of Stephen Miller and the words that he uses?
No, I'm okay with dying on his hill, right? I'm okay with dying on that hill. I am. And I'm exercising my freedom of speech at this point, especially to a person who is outwardly racist, who is outwardly anti-American, who has outwardly lied to the American people, has lied by the American president to another foreign president about everything that the Supreme Court has absolutely said. Fuck him and his lies. That is not okay to do. It's the antithesis of being American. He has lied through his teeth through his teeth, totally skewed what the Supreme Court said and what they ruled, how they ruled, so on and so forth. So if I go to work and I have to talk to somebody about what I said, I'm okay with dying on that hill. I'm okay. The question is, are they comfortable with wanting me to die on that hill?
My question is this, and it's funny you say this because I wrote this word. The federal, I forgot what federal judge it was, says, hey, bring them back. Attorney General Bondi said, no, we'll take this up to the Supreme Court.
Bless you.
The Supreme Court says, yeah, he was here. He came illegally. However, he got a hearing and the judge says, okay, he can stay here because he has a fear for his life if he goes back to El Salvador. So the U.S. Supreme Court says, facilitate. So I'll let y'all tell me the definition or tell me the political definition of the word facilitate on as far as President Trump bringing back Kilmar.
And that was the part I was going to ask you about, because you can't just simply stop at facilitate. What are we facilitating? How are we facilitating? Who are the actors involved in that facilitation, right?
The Supreme Court didn't state that.
But the issue, they don't have to state that part of it, right? That's like a specified task and an inherent task, right? That's like if you said, hey, Fat, I need you to push me over $50, right? Then, okay, all right, you need Venmo, Cash App, so on and so forth. You don't have to necessarily tell me the direct engine in that request. The goal, the end state has been identified. The method or the engine to get there doesn't always have to be specified. Now, if we're using that as a movement of saying, well, the Supreme Court didn't say it, well, then I'll have to take a countermeasure and say there was a state Supreme Court that said that there were 34 felonious counts against the current executive administrator, right? And those, they're true. And we should actually apply that the latter part of that to that same thing, which means that if you are a felon, you don't have the right to vote. You shouldn't hold public office. You can't leave the country. Your passport should be rescinded. So on. You can't get a top secret clearance, so on and so forth.
The right to vote as a felon, that depends on the state. Once you served your time and you're off probation, then you can vote again. Because I always used to think that once you were a felon, you can never vote. Not true.
Yeah, no.
Voting rights.
Yeah, but I believe in New York, once you are that status, you can't.
So each state is a little different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so,
yeah, each state's a little different, but going back to the original question about facilitate, they stopped just shy of ordering the administration to bring old boy back, right?
Now,
so the court facilitate, aid, help, enable the return. It didn't say do it. That's like James Glass Jr.
I'm gonna stop using my name on this goddamn platform.
Double J.
Yeah, my other partner does that to me every trip. Zoe get on here and he don't give a shit about the name that I got in the box, J Glass Movement. He the first one to be like, oh, hey, James. I'm like, goddamn, Zoe.
No, what Deuce just said is my point. I was driving home.
And I understand that point, but I think it's
they would have said, that's just like saying to the ex-husband, the court order says, okay, ex-husband, we want you to facilitate getting the money to your ex-wife and the kids. We order you. You will this, and this in a timely fashion, or these are the consequences.
Sure.
Supreme Court, like, we can't order another country to return some. Wait a minute. I'm being told on TV that we cannot tell another country to return someone back to us.
They can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the political pressure is we can tell El Salvador anything and anything we want them to do, and they'll do it. So President Trump does not want him back. And so when the United States Supreme Court said 9-0, this is key. That's why I said some decisions that go to the United States Supreme Court, they have to rule unanimously on certain issues or we'll lose our country. The law is the law, but when it comes to politics, if they feel they're going to lose the country on certain decisions, they'll just go 9-0 and just cut all the talk right there.
But you know, man, the Supreme Court, man, they look at the president. That's big homie right there, man. That's big homie. They're not gonna go against their boy. Now, if they disagree with something that he does, you're right. They want to straddle the fence. That's why they use facilitate instead of saying, "Hey, you should do this."
No, it's 9-0.
They don't want to go against the big homie.
The decision was 9-0. With no problem. It was 9-0 for the sake of
the straddling the fence is not the vote, it's what they communicated. 9-0 makes it seem like, oh, we support bringing him back.
No.
Hear me out. If they voted all together, it looks good to the press. It looks good to the people.
Okay.
But when you read the words, it's nothing. But it looks good. It sounds good. They can say, yeah, man, I told the president to bring that joker back. But when you really read what they voted, they didn't say that.
But the key is they voted 9-0. It didn't go by party lines. And that's why I keep saying there's certain decisions the U.S. Supreme Court has to make that they cannot go down party lines. They have to be unanimous, so it's clear cut.
As I'm reading an article, from the New York Times, it states, a federal judge scolded the Trump administration on Tuesday for dragging its feet on complying with a Supreme Court order that directed the White House to facilitate the release of a Maryland man who was wrongfully deported to a prison in El Salvador last month. Right. So I'll look further, but I don't think that the movement of not saying that he needs to come home, I'll double check. Right. I think that facilitation did cover bringing him home.
But they can't. That's the problem. You can't tell another country what to do.
No, he's not telling the country to do it. He's not telling the president of El Salvador to do it. He's telling the administration, which is why they're in jeopardy of being held in contempt.
Listen to this. When you said Stephen Miller, I don't care for Stephen Miller, but this is the brilliance of President Trump. If he sends 100 people back, or 137.
But before you finish that, those two things are not synonymous and shouldn't be mentioned in the same sentence. But go ahead.
Oh, let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Stephen Miller said they didn't order us to bring those people back.
I don't believe shit. That piece of shit.
Hold on, but he technically,
he's right.
He's right. And here's the other thing: the United States Supreme Court can support what the federal judge in New York said and say, "Hey, you sent that guy back when he came over illegally, but then we allowed him to stay legally because of the fear of being hurt when he goes back with the gangs."
Yeah.
So they said you shouldn't have sent him back. Go get him. Here's the catch: he's out of the country. So President Trump can't order the president of El Salvador bring this person back. Now he can put tariffs on El Salvador.
Yeah, but that's not a thing.
I mean, let's be real though, Rich, man. America's paying El Salvador to house those people. If the administration said, "Run me back my guy," they're going to do it because they want that money. They're not going to stop that. And I think that's what the thing that Double J was talking about is the court say facilitate. The administration didn't even ask, right?
And that's the issue.
He strictly said no. And then I want to mention this point too. Why was old boy picked up, man? Why was Mr. Garcia picked up? Do y'all know what he was doing? I know.
Mind his business.
He's out here he's doing what everyone else is trying to do. Fight these tariffs by putting some food on his table. Mr. Garcia was outside the Home Depot just looking for work, man. The guy was looking for work. That's where they picked him up at, outside the Home Depot with 3 other guys, right? And they're using his alleged ties to a gang, which still has not been proven.
It was never proven. He does not have ties to that.
That's correct.
But they boxed him up and sent them faster than a Temu package, bro. That's what they did.
See, again, I'm reading another article that says the U.S. Supreme Court has ordered the government to facilitate a return of a wrongfully deported Salvadorian man.
That's correct. But once he, here's the catch.
But you said they didn't say that he had to return him. Now, I do agree that once he's on foreign soil, it's tough for the Supreme Court. They can't litigate anything for him, but they can still have the executive branch do the facilitation aspect of it, and they have not.
How can you do the facilitation of a person that's outside of your country? You can't.
No, but they had the freaking El Salvadorian president right there at the White House.
And
that
he
was,
said,
that was a big opportunity.
wait a minute. When you heard Stephen Miller going off in that Oval Office, they turned to the El Salvadorian president. He says, I'm not sending him back here.
No, he did not. He actually said, I'm not going to release a terrorist. That's what he said. He said he's not going to release a terrorist. That's literally what he said. And that man was never proven to be a terrorist. He was never proven to be a gang leader.
Hold on. When they asked him, are you going to return him back? His answer is, I'm not going to release a terrorist, implying that, quote, Garcia, even though he's not a terrorist, was a terrorist. But the El Salvadoran president laughed and said, I'm not sending him back here.
I totally get what you're saying. I absolutely get what you're saying.
But hold on. There's context to this, right? There's layers to this, man. Let's not skip over that. Okay. Not only did he say he's a terrorist, which he was never found to be a terrorist, right? Two, he said, how can I smuggle somebody into the United States?
Yep.
To smuggle somebody in means that the administration is denying access to that person that the court said facilitate. He's saying a bunch of nothing.
Okay. And then he pivoted and was like, this. He said something to the fact that it's a ridiculous question that you're asking me. I can't do this, and he can, but he's helping the facade of the administration because they made a mistake. Yeah. And if they make that one mistake, they have to go back and review every person that they've pushed out of the country, and that's the ramifications of it, right?
And so just for the audience, right? The whole quote from the El Salvadorian president was, are you suggesting I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States? Of course, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to smuggle somebody in. That is a preposterous question.
Thank you.
So listen to this. Donald Trump, President Trump, he's not giving people due process. Now, when you have certain Republicans who are trying to back you up on everything you do, when they have to come out and say, President Trump, you have to give due process. Because Bill O'Reilly, even though he says he's not a Republican, he's kind of leaning towards the Republican side. He says, you can't do this. You have to give people due process. The Trump administration is not going to give you any due process. They're not. Now, when will it come back to haunt them? I don't know.
Oh, I do. But we'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, because I do. I know when it's going to haunt them, and it's going to haunt them rightfully so. But the man was kidnapped unrighteously. At the end of the day, he was kidnapped
on a Home Depot
and taken from his family for literally no reason whatsoever. I'm trying to reconnect my Bluetooth to my phone for my road. I didn't know it was not connected, and that's an issue because everybody on TikTok, they've been listening through my iPad.
That's trash.
Hey, here's my thing. Dude said he was at Home Depot trying to work.
Yeah.
If I'm here in this country illegally, or even if I'm here legally, but it's kind of questionable how I became legal in this country to stay here.
But what's questionable about him?
This is how I say this.
Okay.
If I'm hanging out on the street corner and I'm all good, but I know Tyrone and Deshaun, these cats ain't no good. And I'm hanging with them on the street corner, I don't think I want that. So if you know that this man just got reelected and he's rounding people up who are here illegally, and then you go down there to where all these illegal people are, and you look like them, you'll get rounded up too.
Okay.
So I wish he hadn't been down there, even though he was trying to take care of his family. Listen, got out here in California. I see them outside Home Depot and Lowe's, and I'm thinking, you're crazy. You're crazy. This can never
crazy. And so let's deal with this part, right? And this is the part that we keep getting messed up. I can't go into a bunch of the whataboutisms with the administration because he was never illegal. So everything that you say after that, everything that they have to mention after that, it doesn't mean fuckle because he was never illegal. He was never a terrorist. He was never proven to be an MS-13. He should not have been on the plane.
Hold on. Wait a minute. He came to the country illegally. And when they was getting ready to send, listen to me, he came to this country illegally. However, when he went to court, the judge says, well, we got to send you back. He said, well, I'm afraid that if I go back to my home country, they're going to kill me, the gang. He said, okay, now you can stay over here legally. So initially, he did come legal. Initially, he came illegally, and then he became legal once he got here. Okay.
So he's legal.
Okay. All I'm simply saying is, if I look like I'm a Latina or a Latino, whether I'm here legally or not, and I came from another country, I don't think I'm going outside Home Depot. Not until this man's out of office.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that point either.
You'll get swept up.
Hold on. I disagree with both of these points, man. I think that's incinerary. Right? I hope I said that right. I put some emphasis in that word, man.
Yeah, you got
Here's
it.
the thing, bro. So you telling me if I'm I'm Hispanic, Latino, I'm here in a legal status, I can't go to Home Depot. I got to be forced to go to Lowe's simply because of the administration's stance on my people. Is what you're telling me? That's insane, bro. I thought this was the land of the free, home of the brave.
Oh,
what happened to that? What happened to the Constitution? And right now,
wait a minute,
we're getting close. We're gonna talk about this point too. We're getting close to, at this point, removing legal citizens. He is a legal resident of the United States.
Yeah. So Michelle, I see Michelle.
He already said that he's thinking about removing homegrown criminals.
Listen, all I simply said is this. He initially came over illegally. He became legal.
Yeah.
But if you go down there to that Home Depot, standing outside with the rest of those people who are most likelihood not illegal, you're going to get swept up with them. Period.
Sure. He's just trying to get legal work, man. He's just trying to get some money to feed the fam.
That's not what I said.
How are you supposed to do that?
I said, if you go down with people who are criminals, who are here illegally, even though you're legal, but you're hanging around these people who are illegal, you're liable to catch a case.
Period. And I can't argue with that, right? Because we get swept up in that all the time. Wrong place, wrong time bullshit. But again, the guy was not illegal.
That's correct.
And that's the point that I'm making. That's the point that I'm making. So when people in the Oval Office begin to spew bullshit, saying that he was illegal, he was a criminal, he was a so on and so forth. No, that we can't continue on that argument because everything that you're saying is a lie. It's predicated on nothingness, right?
Well, I tell you what. Since you say that it's predicated on nothingness, then the Supreme Court should have written something more stronger to force the facilitation, and they did not. So
they're not going against the big homie, man. They're not going against the big homie. That's like, it's the equivalent of the people of death row going against Suge Knight back in the day, bro. They're not doing it.
Yeah.
Tupac wasn't standing up against Suge Knight. Snoop wasn't standing up against Suge Knight. So you expect the Supreme Court to stand up against his modern day Suge? Yeah. Nah, bro. They're not doing that.
Because they are a co-equal branch of government as the judiciary. Yes, they are supposed to do that. They're supposed to keep a check and balance on the legislative and on the executive branch. Three equal counterparts of the U.S. government. Oh yes, yes.
Hold on, you just did that math like the administration. You said three, but I only saw like two fingers, and the other finger was hidden behind. That's how they doing it. West side is the best side. Here's my thing, though, man. The administration is scaring these judges, man. He already talked about impeaching judges, right? The Supreme, although I don't even think they said it officially. Chief Judge Roberts said, "Whoa, let's not do that." Yeah, I don't think they said something officially about not doing that.
Wait a minute. This is where it gets tricky because I was talking to someone about that. You're looking at the Local 1000 president who was removed from office, and it was validated through a corrupt court system in downtown Sacramento, the headquarters of the state of California, the fourth largest economy on earth. So these corrupt judges know that what they did was wrong, but they didn't care. And they have no accountability for their actions. That's why I'm in the appeals court. And there's no guarantee that those judges may have the same attitude, oh, we don't care. So it's tricky when you say that. Because some of the judges, whether they're Democrat or Republican, they're biased.
Yeah, sure. We know they're going to be biased. That look, our court system is pay to play, and I've said that. I've stated it on multiple different occasions. Each judge that takes a seat, regardless of the place that they're holding, they have their own biases as well. Right. Again, with our Supreme Court not too long ago, after they did the reviews, we saw millions of dollars being donated to multiple different individuals from billionaires to essentially enforce rules that they wanted to have happen. And so I'm not disagreeing with you on that point. The only point that I keep making, that I'm going to continue to make, is everything after it said that. Matter of fact, there was a judge that ruled that he wasn't supposed to be and that happened a while ago. Right.
Yeah.
He picked up that status. He married a U.S. citizen. He has a child that's a U.S. citizen. So the man did absolutely nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. And the court to facilitate the return. The court said take the return.
Wait a minute. If Mr. Garcia could do it all over again, do you think he'd go back down to that Home Depot and stand outside? I bet he wouldn't.
No, here's my thing, man. I hate that the conversation's driving towards where my man was located at, right? I like the point that Glass said, man, that the court system is pay to play compared to OnlyFans, right? Pay to see. Yeah. So, but Rich, to your point, Mr. Garcia was denied his right to do the OnlyFans. Well, I got a list of them. OnlyFans, Fancy, Live Jasmine,
just jumped up.
Team Skeet. Day in court, man. The court won't be able to see him because they kicked him out of the country illegally, right? So I hate that the conversation is centered on him being in the wrong place. The process, he didn't get his just due process.
No, he didn't get his. Listen,
that's the.
Listen to this. He didn't get his due process. That is clearly wrong. Clearly wrong. What I'm simply saying is, now that he went through this, fighting to get back to the country, are there more people, regardless of Latino or Asian or African or whatever, are there more people still standing outside Home Depot all across the nation? Because if they are, you will get picked up eventually.
But the question is, regardless of where they're standing, because they can get picked up just walking out of the house. They don't have to they don't have to be centrally located at a Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware or any other place that where the people who should actually also be locked up along with the folks that are being deported should actually, right? They don't have to necessarily be there. The problem is the due process that was absolutely stripped away, and the reluctance of the current administration to pivot and do the right thing.
They're not going to do the right thing. That's where. So when people say this to me about, oh, well, they need to do the right thing, that's not what they're going to do.
Well, no, I agree.
Hold on, wait, y'all are some bold-faced liars.
He
said that they abide by the law, and hold on.
Who said that?
Syria trying to take over. He said that he abides by the law. So y'all some bold-faced liars. I know what he said on live TV.
He absolutely
did. Listen, when I started coming on these videos, I said when President Trump was saying, when candidate Trump was saying, we're just going to pick up the violent criminals and send them back. That was a lie.
Yeah.
That was a clear-cut lie that everybody knew that if you're in this country illegally, whether you're a criminal or not, as soon as they see you and they can grab you, they're grabbing you.
Look, I like to pivot on that to the other part of that conversation, man. They can see you, they're gonna grab you, they're gonna snatch you, throw you away, right? In El Salvador. The comment that he floated about the homegrown criminals are next. So you see how it's becoming a slippery slope, man, because the MAGA folks, the minority MAGA folks that voted for him, that's not gonna be me, not gonna be me. Now they say it could be them. that slope's continuing down to us, right?
I
Because
think
we
that's
can get violent criminals. Just imagine. I know you don't like hypotheticals, but imagine this: if King and X and Garvey were alive today, and they were arrested, which they were multiple times, I don't think we would have saw them again. They could have been tried under some terrorist act, Patriot Act, and deported to El Salvador.
no. Wait a minute. Hold on.
What do you mean? No, wait a minute. How could that not have happened?
Hold on. Let's take a step back for a second.
Which place you going to? You going back to Kilmar, Rodrigo, or
Court. The Supreme
OnlyFans.
Supreme Court is a conservative court, and they're going to
Okay.
try to give President Trump everything he wants, except for things that they know will destroy the country. So when the Democrats want to keep Trump's name off the ballot, the Supreme Court said 9-0, put his name on the ballot, period, in the conversation. Because that would have wrecked the country. So there are certain issues that wreck this country. If you grab an American citizen born here legally, whether he's doing right or she's doing wrong, it doesn't matter, and you ship them to another country, you'll wreck the country. You'll destroy the country.
no, you won't. No, you're underestimating the power of stupid people.
How much money we got? Let's put some money up tonight.
You're underestimating the
I'm
power
gonna put
of
some money.
stupid people.
I'll put some money up.
And this is
Person who's born in America-
let me make this point, right? What you're hearing a lot of people say now is that America is now in a constitutional crisis period, right?
Right.
They're saying that. And you're hearing a lot of talking points where a lot of people are saying that, and they sound intelligent saying it, but they forgot that America has always been in a constitutional crisis as far as we're concerned, because we've never been given or afforded the continuation or the actual lived experience of being able to live under the Constitution as it is. We've always had to have additional language added to it. The Voting Rights Acts of 1964, 65, right? Up recently, the Crown Act. So it's not that we're all of a sudden in a constitutional crisis. We've always been that. The issue is stupid people don't realize that we've always been in a constitutional crisis. Not even to the point of where there's $400 million that China just said, "Nah, we ain't doing that with America no more." And they're still saying, well, no, the tariffs are the right thing to do, because you're underestimating the power of stupid people.
No, I'm not. I'm not underestimating the power of stupid people. What I'm fairly estimating is the belief that there are certain things in this country you will not see happen. Period.
Like
Until
what?
the time.
Like what?
So,
Draw your line in the sand. What are these things?
hold on, all the Democrats. I said you're wrong on this, and the Supreme Court has to rule 9-0 to put his name on the ballot, or you'll wreck the country. They ruled 9-0. This situation with Mr. Garcia, they had to rule 9-0 because it was straightforward, clear-cut wrong. He came over illegally, but then he became legal.
I can't even entertain him coming over illegally if he ended up being legal.
No. That's the bona fide truth. When you look at the case, he came to the country.
You're going too far back, Rich. You're going too far back. You got to go to the point where he became a legal resident.
You can't take you can't take the piece of the truth that you support fully. You take the whole story. It's the same people when people talk about the Bible. Some preach from the Old Testament, Republicans, and some preach from the New Testament, Democrats. No, you take the whole book as one unit.
But with your line of thinking, Rich, we'll still be slaves, man, because we came over here as slaves, but then something happened legally to make us residents and citizens. So using your line of thinking, you're skipping over that facts. The same thing with Mr. Garcia. Yes, he came over here legally, but a court ruled that he was a legal resident.
He did not come to the country legally.
Okay, I got that. Okay, so let's deal with that. What does that got to do with the price of tea in China, with what's happening with him now?
Because we're telling the whole story. Tell the whole story. Don't tell them.
It's not telling the whole story. It's starting at a point of being able to pivot, right? And this is
we're simply saying it.
Hold on, give me a second. This is why I'm saying that, right? Because simply saying, oh, he came over here illegally, that allows for exactly what Stephen Miller did, and he automatically pivoted and left out the whole fact that he had already been to a court system. He had already been found to be a legal person in this country. And everything after that, right, that happened to him, it doesn't matter, because nobody's hearing the actual part that matters. The part that matters is the 13th Amendment was introduced to the Constitution of the United States of America. That he was here legally. And if we can't stop at the part where he was here legally, the rest of the conversation doesn't have anything to do with anything else.
No, because when you do the case study on this situation with Mr. Garcia, tell the whole story. Don't tell just about he was here legally. How did he get here, first of all? He came illegally. And then when they was going to send him back, the judge says, we got to send you back. And Mr. Garcia, his attorney, said, if he goes back to El Salvador, he could die from one of those gangs. And so the judge says, you have made a compelling case. And because of that, we will now make him a legal resident of America. That's the whole story.
And so you're simply
okay. And then
go ahead.
Know what you got?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so the whole story is they illegally removed a legal resident of the United States, which is what we've been saying the whole time.
That's correct. I never disagreed with you on that.
You've been sitting here,
no, because you're
talking about how he got here.
What I'm simply saying is this: the Supreme Court ruled 9-0, bring the man back, facilitate, but they didn't give out a direct hardcore order. But they had to rule 9-0 because he had been made legal in the country. That's the whole. You got to tell the whole story. Don't tell just the part that you want to hear, that you want to talk about.
I think I hear what you're saying. I think I hear what you're saying. I think I hear what you're saying. We're saying two different things. We're saying two different things, right? You're simply saying, yeah, you agree with everything that we got going on, but if we're going to talk about it in its entirety.
Tell the whole story.
That's just like saying America used black people's skin to make furniture, right? Because we're telling the whole story.
You have to tell.
Wait, when that's not in these new history books, man. Don't be.
It's the same thing about slavery. Europeans come to West Africa and grab all the slaves, grab all the Africans and make them slaves. Some were sold by other Africans.
You're talking about the agricultural. You're talking about the agricultural exchange, Richard. Let's get it right.
Yeah,
agricultural exchange. That's what you're talking about.
It's a new.
Africans into slavery, and then some were seized.
You just did that, dude. Sorry, you just what to say.
No, because what I want people to understand is, when you have to tell the whole story on a situation, tell the whole thing. And I've already said this 1,000 times. I don't know who Michelle is. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0, bring the man back, but they didn't make the order strong enough. They didn't do it strong enough. When they said 9-0. As Deuce said, they said, well, we'll make it 9-0, and then we'll try to walk away from this. It's up to the president to get them back, because we can't necessarily tell the president, but they could have made that thing a lot stronger. They could have.
Yeah, but
away from it.
In just about every ruling, courts have a point of escalation, right? They give the bare minimum, and if that's not followed, they come and double down, so on and so forth. Which is why there's at this point with a lot of different counsel. So the courts have a huge arsenal of things that they can do with this, unfortunately. And I don't think a lot of the American people understand this. They can hire private law to execute on this, right? They can bring in outside lawyers to force this and execute on it.
Yes, but you got to understand the landscape that the administration has created now.
Oh yeah, right? No. I get saying that there are tools that the court system has in its escalation of actually disseminating rulings that they can use to try and enforce it. Now, I go ahead and finish what you're saying. I know where you're going, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying that the court system, they do have an arsenal of things that they can do legally to push and enforce the facilitating of bringing him back.
Yes. All right. So to your point, yes, they can. Right. However, law firms are scared to do that because the administration has been fighting and dismantling those law firms, removing their access, removing their security clearances, barring them from entering federal buildings. How can you even practice law if you can't even enter the building? Right. You can't do it outside through video chat or things like that. And people are. I just want to say this, man. The Supreme Court going 9-0 in this case is about as weak as that never-ending speech that Cory Booker gave on his.
Hold on.
It's the same thing, bro. Here's what I'm going to say. What came from that? Absolutely freaking nothing. Booker entered the record books. And to Richard's point, what came from this 9-0 vote? They entered the record books. That's it.
Well, wait, it's very historic because of this. We sent somebody back to a country when they were here after they became legal in this country. We sent them back. We made a mistake. We should say, hey, El Salvador, please return this person back to the country. Here's the problem. President Trump can never admit fault. That's the first thing. That's the first thing. He'll never admit when he's wrong. Never, ever. See, I'll put up money tonight. He'll never admit when he's wrong. I'll put up $100 in that. Is he going to make El Salvador bring back Mr. Garcia? $100. No, he's not. Will the Supreme Court or a federal court have to issue out additional orders that direct him? You will bring Mr. Garcia back. And if you don't bring Mr. Garcia back,
and so that's the sticky part. That's the sticky part. And because I don't know at this point what all enforcement measures are going to be employable, because the man is on foreign soil if he's still alive, right? And we can't send anyone over there to conduct extradition if we aren't invited over there. So even if the current administration says, nope, okay, well then we'll facilitate this, and then the El Salvadorian president says, I'm not allowing you to come over and get him. But now we're in a bit of an international crisis.
Well, here's the thing. Y'all both said this. If President Trump told the president of El Salvador, okay, look, I kind of screwed this up. Don't tell nobody, send the man back. He would send him back by the next day. Okay, so I'm gonna concede that. Here's the more telling point. When you say that President Trump, you didn't say that. This is me, what I think I heard you say.
Okay.
That there's two people around President Trump and they'll say, don't bring him back. If the courts order him, which they haven't done, they said just facilitate. Facilitate sounds like an order in some people's minds and not an order in other people's minds. If the courts come back out and hold President Trump in contempt, Trump says, so what? Hold me in contempt. I don't give a damn. When you impeach me, you ain't got enough votes. He'll stay his ass over there. Ain't nothing you can do to make me change my mind. Now what?
Well, again, that becomes a bit hypothetical, right?
No, because it's happening right now. They've told him, bring the man back. And he said, I'm not bringing him back. So he's defying the court.
He didn't. I gotta state this. He didn't just flat out say, no, I'm not doing it. But there has been a game that's been played. There's feet dragging. There's rhetoric that's being thrown out there, right? Even to Marco Rubio's point, saying, and he was right with this. Marco Rubio, when Marco Rubio said, hey, the president is the one who actually weighs in on international rule and all the other stuff, he was correct in that. It's not the federal court system. So I have to agree. And I'll concede that point, right?
Right.
So
that's
so again, it goes back to my point, man, that stance that the Supreme Court took is as weak as Cory Booker's all day, never ending speech, man. Because here's the thing. Listen, here's the thing, man. Both of you guys have said, Rich, you have said that the court stopped short of really saying you must facilitate, because they can't just say it, go out and get that guy, that you must facilitate. It stopped short of that. And James, you also said that there were other weapons that the court can use.
They can, because
they like to give themselves grace, right? This is the Supreme Court. There's no other court past the Supreme Court. They stopped short of issuing a full ruling so that they do not have to employ those other weapons, man. It's just as weak, man. I don't know if y'all like basketball. The Nikola Joker, whatever his name is, man, has the highest scoring triple-double in the NBA history with 61 points, rebounds, and but guess what happened? They lost the game. It doesn't mean a damn thing, man, if you don't win the game. The Supreme Court 9-0. Woo! Great. It doesn't mean anything because Mr. Garcia is still suffering if he's alive in El Salvador.
Right. But they cannot do anything because of the fact it's not on U.S. soil. So they cannot issue out no other type of demand to make the president do something that he doesn't have the that he can't force the other president to do. In other words, this is what President Trump knew. Once they told him, don't let that plane take off with that man on it, Mr. Garcia on it. He said, I don't care. It's up in the air. He's gone.
And they're not turning it around.
Out of U.S. airspace. See ya.
Here's another weak thing, man. By another James. I'm not saying James are weak. I'm just noticing the trend here. That's a bad thing too. I'm gonna start with the James thing. All right, here's what I'm trying to say.
Back to that.
U.S. District Judge James Bosberg found probable cause to hold the administration in criminal contempt for violating the court order.
That's updated. That's new.
That's new.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that tripped me up. Probable cause?
Yeah.
We all see it happen. It's not probable. The administration did nothing to try to facilitate his release. They didn't even ask.
That's correct. You're right.
Here's once again they tiptoeing.
But that's
probable cause.
That was
criminal contempt, right? Criminal contempt. Criminal contempt.
Yeah. And so they had to insert it that way as probable cause for a reason, right? And it has to go through that jargon. So if it's rebutted or appealed, so on and so forth, they don't. The case looks different. Mm-hmm. That's why. But when did that article come out? Him holding him in contempt.
I saw that today. Let me find a source.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I need to go back and look at that.
President Trump in criminal contempt. Listen to this. This is how smooth he is. So you hold him in criminal contempt.
Yeah.
Then DOJ says, nope, we're not doing it. Throw it out.
But that's not how that works.
Okay.
That's not how that works. I get what you're saying. Like if Pam Bundy says, well, we're going to throw it out, Pam Bundy's not the prosecuting or the defense attorney on that.
When those federal attorneys try to move it up the chain, they're going to get slammed down. Watch what happens. That man's not coming back.
No.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you on that point. Unfortunately, I have to agree with you on that point.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. See, this is wait a minute. This is how slick President Trump is.
I can accept that sentence.
Listen to this. If he brings him back, then he'll bring him back on the same day that he bows to China on the tariffs. Now, either you're going to do the tariffs or not. And so China called his bluff. I'm not trying to jump to the next issue. We
got to stay for a second. There's a point that I got to make still.
Yeah. So they called his bluff, and then he said, okay, we'll let the phones keep coming in. It was iPhones, cell phones. We'll let all them keep coming in, but everything else, we're going to go at you with 84% or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. China says, we don't give a damn.
Yep.
Now, if President Trump, I think I talk to two people on a regular basis, I think they serve in the military, they believe that President Trump is somewhat of a racist. If he's really a racist, you can't bow down to a minority in any form or fashion. If he's truly a racist,
I think that's a bit outside of the parameters of how that's going to actually end up working. I think that's a bit outside of. I know what you're saying, right? I do know what you're saying, and on a micro level, I agree with you 100%. But we're talking about a macro. This is a global thing, and remember, globally, they're the minority.
Wait a minute. When you're President Donald J. Trump, and you think you're God's gift coming from Europe,
mm-hmm.
You don't bow to nobody, regardless of what the situation is, because you can't lose face. So if it's true that Roy Cohen taught him to never admit mistakes on anything, don't ever admit anything. If that's true.
But that's players 101, baby. Nah, that wasn't me kissing the girl over there in the club. It wasn't me. Shaggy 101. It wasn't me.
No, Mr. Garcia has that slim chance of coming back, but President Trump would have to admit he did something wrong. I can't see him admitting it. I just can't see it.
They already said they admitted to an administrative error.
Wait a minute.
Exactly.
He didn't admit anything.
Okay.
The administration admit.
No. The administration underneath it legally said, yeah, we made a mistake legally. President Trump is like, no, he's out of here. I ain't bringing him back.
So let's deal with the hot mic situation that he had, saying that he'd like to, probably to sending Americans over there that are criminals. Okay. And then I will agree with him. I will agree with him. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you why I will agree with him. Yeah, send them over there, especially domestic terrorists. They need to be deported
I
because
see where you're going.
every hate group in America that the FBI has considered domestic terrorists, they need to be the fuck out of here.
They're not going. That's a great point. Listen to this.
Man,
They act like anything that's quote anti-Jewish, as far as Harvard, Yale, or Columbia, they coming down on you hard. But I remember years ago when they had that march in Charlottesville, and they said the Jews won't replace us, and Trump didn't move a damn thing. He didn't get those people up out of there.
no, but he also didn't say at that point that he was going to be deporting American citizens
Right.
who are.
Right.
He already set parameters. He set the parameters: terrorists, violent criminals. I'm waiting for him to say felons.
So listen, again, this is where the Democrats are. This is where the Democrats are making their mistake. This is where when he says that he's fighting for Israel, he's fighting to stop anti-Semitism. But yet, when those white boys were marching, I'm gonna say white boys, when marching in Charlottesville saying the Jews won't replace us, you said, well, there's good people on both sides. I didn't hear you come out then. I see you, Michelle. See, I'm a fair shooter. I'm a straight down the line shooter. I don't belong to the Democrat or the Republican Party. But when them white boys marching in Charlottesville saying Jews won't replace us, what I really heard them say, niggers won't replace me. That's what I heard them say. And Trump said, well, there's good people on both sides. Okay. If that's how you feel about the good people on both sides, then why aren't you saying there's good people, the Palestinians, when they talk about, hey, we down for Palestine at these Ivy League universities? You ain't saying that then. And you said, well, they ain't doing it peacefully. I don't know if the white boys in Charlottesville was really marching peacefully, because that white girl, oh God, what was her name? Heller. She lost her life, and nobody gave a damn. I thought white women had privilege. She didn't get no privilege that day. Why? Because she was around black folks.
Well, I wasn't expecting for you to go all the way out there, but okay.
Yeah, that's
coming back to Mr. Garcia. So I'm telling the whole story of Mr. Garcia. So now I'm telling the whole story in regards to anti-Semitism as we go into the tariffs eventually down the road here. I'm telling the whole story from my memory bank. I'm telling everything I see.
Yeah.
So look, Rich, you gotta be skipping around like my old Sony Walkman back in the day when I used to jog with it. Now we're going a little too far ahead. I do want to touch before we get to that. You brought up some good points. Before we get to that, I want to touch back on that domestic, the violent homegrown criminals. I know Glass talked about it, and in that sentiment, I do agree with it. But I see it as a very dangerous, slippery slope, man. And I feel it as a way, because they're already targeting people that speak out against who he views as, I can't even say serious adversaries. It's people he just don't like.
Yeah.
Viewing them and targeting them, they can easily be deemed a dangerous criminal and sent to the camp down in El Salvador, man. Ain't trying to go to El Salvador.
And let's,
but nothing.
And you know what?
Go ahead.
Whether we believe they tried to shoot President Trump or not in Butler, Pennsylvania, whether we believe that the man in Florida was really in that little grass area trying to shoot him, whether we believe that all those criminal convictions he received and all that, he believes he was being persecuted. And so now that he won re-election, some people call it vengeance, some people call it retribution. I'll let y'all define what those two words mean.
Well, let me start here, right? Conventionally and generally speaking, when we hear somebody say the word persecution, we immediately go back to the persecution of Jesus. And not just that, but also saying that that people should be okay with being persecuted, because that just simply means that they're doing what Christ once wanted them to do, so on and so forth. So using that word in and of itself without contextually actually understanding the definitive movement of it, it puts people in a different place, right? I was being persecuted. It's automatically a religious trigger, automatically. And any and everything that's said after that is justified, and it's put on a platform of morality. He was not being persecuted. There was no persecution whatsoever. right? And I've got to make that point known, because when we use that word, especially in America, American Christianity is something that is absolutely wild when it comes to these types of things.
But he
right?
was persecuted. He was. He wasn't. He wasn't. All those court cases were not right, and that's why he got reelected. And not only did he get reelected, he won the swing states. So this is why he can wild out on Mr. Garcia and anybody else he wants, because he convinced more than half of America, or almost 50% or 50.1 of America, that he was persecuted. And so our country is completely racially divided. Sure. Now we're divided on President Trump. Sure. We're divided economically. Sure. We're divided every which way but loose. We're divided in this country. And we're not coming back to be unified in this country for some years.
Yeah. Yeah, but he wasn't being persecuted, right? He was doing some criminal shit, and the court him.
He wasn't doing any criminal stuff. That's subjective. I'm telling you, that's all those cases against him are going to get knocked out. They're going to get wiped off the books. I want to put money up, because when I know that I'm on point, I'll put some money up in a heartbeat. If I don't know, I'll back up. I know this. There's no way they're going to say we had a president who had a felony record that got elected to the White House. They're not going to say that. All
they
those
have to say it.
off.
Already in the history books. They don't have to say shit.
No. All those cases are going to get wiped out, and all those felony convictions are going to be removed from his record.
And that's fine. That's fine. But the action has already been taken, and the action is
they're going to reverse all that. I'm telling you, they're going to reverse.
Look, I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. But the action has already been done. He's gone how long at this point, having 34 felonies. So regardless of when it gets removed, there's still a time in the history books, in history, that literally says at one point, the president of the United States.
Go down like that. I guarantee you. I guarantee. Let me tell you something. If the one thing I know about, quote, white America, when they want to erase something, they will erase it.
You know what? To Rich's point, I think he got something, man. I hear what both of y'all are saying. It happened, right? But just like DEI, it's going to be deleted from the record books. It's only going to reside in our memory.
But even with DEI getting deleted, there's still people like, wait a minute, Jackie joined. He was what? Why did y'all do that? Because the action already happened. It occurred. It took place. It took place. I don't give a shit how they're trying to delete it. It took place. So they can, unless we have another burning like Alexandria, right?
Okay. Go ahead.
If that's not happening globally,
okay.
It's going to be captured.
Okay.
It's going to be captured, and it's a thing.
Yeah.
So they can erase it on American soil. I got that. Right. However, there are 100+ other countries out there that have made it a thing, and they've captured it, saying, "Oh yeah, no, this guy, he was a felon."
I tell you what. If they continue to bring that up or put that in their history books, Donald Trump's going to put a tariff on them, and he won't let up. He will not let up off that tariff until they take all that out. I guarantee.
I don't think people too much care about his tariffs. I think he started.
Hey, yeah, he froze on you too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what. They cut his internet feed.
My bad. Man, I got. I'm back.
You back?
I said,
you got tariffs, bro. You got tariffs.
Trying to help you.
What I'm saying is I think countries have gotten, they're getting worn out by the tariff threat, right? And it's beginning to become something very similar to protest, marching. It's like, oh, okay, so y'all marching again. Got it. Sounds great. Have fun. Let's see how it works out for you. Right? So it's a thing right now, but I don't think it's always going to be, unfortunately for them.
You know what? This Garcia is really equal to the tariffs. It's going to be equal to a lot of issues under this administration. He's going to try to call the bluff of the Supreme Court, of the American people. He's going to do as much as he possibly can until you check him. Now, how do you check them? Well, you have two other branches of government who are supposed to be co-equals. But if he controls the House and the Senate, and he's not worried about losing those two areas of his legislature in the 26th election in the midterms, then basically it's him. He has 2/3 of the government. He doesn't think court, the Supreme Court, who's 6'4" conservative or 5'4" conservative, he's going to run it down your necks. This is why the Democratic Party said we can't let this man run again, because he'll get elected again. And now he's here and he's just wilding out, and he's not going to stop. Allegedly, this is his last go round.
Yeah, that is allegedly.
So,
allegedly for sure. All right, I think we're here now.
Yeah.
I think we're here now. We can finally push a little bit forward. I had to get the Instagram stream back up, and then at the same time, my daggone TikTok feed was wanting me to come back up also. That's why I had to try and engage this stuff real quick.
Instagram up to work. Oh.
It can, because they remove the stream automatically right at an hour.
That's right.
Yeah. And so it's a little tricky sometimes. So, but whatever the case, we got it rocking. We got it rocking. So we are at tariffs and the fallout of, right? And we were just talking about that a second ago. This is, and I'll make this point. Harvard is going to win their case. And as an example, or as a correlation, China will win. China will win. All it takes is one person strong enough or brave enough to stand up to a bully, and then you get the piecemeal of everybody else saying, oh no, you ain't finna do me like that. I saw somebody else punk you. So you ain't finna bring that shit over here to me, right? I was watching this thing. I saw a message from the Singaporean president, right? And I saw a live message of the Malaysian president aligning with China. And continue, or in a method or in a manner of solidarity about China, Japan, and what China's doing from the tariff fallout. China said, "Let's do it, right? Do 245%. I got you, right? I don't need y'all's money for real." They've also begun to push out they're dumping American debt, right? So they're collapsing our economy. That's literally what's happening right now. And while they're doing this, after the hours that traders are able to actually make trades and shift money and focus on and so forth, right? They're saying, hey, Americans, get on TikTok. If you want to buy from these distributors direct, from the people that make Nike, from the people that make Louis Vuitton, from the people that make all your name brand, go ahead. Hey, buy from them directly. We got you. We got you, except for in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong just literally said, their post office, they said they're not sending anything out. They're not taking anything in from the US, which is huge. So the fallout of these tariffs is not going to be what we anticipate. America, I told y'all, I told everybody once before, there are no more rules. We have given up our #1 spot globally. It's done. And as this tariff war continues, we will be continuously eaten up. That's what's about. China is garnering a ton of support from foreign countries, and if they get all of the Asian countries on their side, Jesus Christ, we ain't gonna have no clothes. Literally, our textiles are screwed. Our electronics are screwed. Our farmers are being shut down. They said, oh, we ain't gonna buy your beef, and they're strategically hitting red states, right? So I'll stop there, because there's a lot that I want to go in about, and I gotta.
I have a question. Hey, Deuce. I want him to keep going a little bit more. I want to hear more what he has to say about this.
And so when it comes to the tariffs, right? First off, not everybody's kissing America's ass anymore, because the dollar is being. Matter of fact, Jerome Powell came out and said, I can no longer predict what's going to happen. We are in stagflation. When the Fed comes out and says that we are in such a bad position that it's hard to recover from this. It's next to impossible. We're going into a stagflation. Those three dimensions that the actual Feds regulate, they're out of sorts. There are two things that they can't get control of. They can't get control of jobs, and they can't get control of inflation. And everything else is predicated. The table's too wobbly. Where our economy is so screwed. Soybeans, wheat, our major GDP, we're losing customers over this at this point. And all it took was one country saying, oh, cool, raise them. See what happens. Oh, you're going to keep raising them? Well, while your traders are asleep and your markets are down, we're going to start dumping our debt. And we finna sell this off. And let's see what happens with your dollar. Oh, you know what else? As a matter of fact, good people of America, since you voted for him in these specific states, we're going to make sure you feel this. What is it that y'all sent to us? Because we sent it back. Not only are we sending it back, but we want our money back. Don't send it over here ever again. They stressed. We are a 5,000 plus year old civilization. We've seen this before. We've seen people like you come and go. And we've stood the test of time. Do something about this. And they essentially said, hey, American people, if you want to continue living and you want to be prosperous in your country, you better get control of your president. Y'all have forgotten that he works for y'all, and he's bankrupt 6 companies. He's about to bankrupt your country. Y'all better do something while you can, because we'll turn it up. And once we turn it up, we ain't going to turn it off. And there's nothing that y'all can do about it, because we owe $500+ million of your debt.
How much money? 500 million or billion?
$500+ billion. It was at $1 trillion, but then inflation hit and it dropped to some. So we went down to $500+ billion, right? They own that.
Billion of debt. Who owns that debt of ours?
China.
Okay.
That's why, again, they've got us at such a strategic strong point and hold that we can't. When our traders should be making money, our markets are closed down.
So let me hold on. Okay. Let me see if I can explain this.
Okay.
From my opinion. Number one, economics is not a real science.
I knew you were going to say that, and I don't disagree. I got you.
Number two, money is printed out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm staying consistent from all the months back. Number three, I hate to say this, but I'm banking on President Trump's ego. He can never admit that he's wrong. He can never be wrong. Now, you said the red states are being hurt. Print some money up and send it to the farmers of the South. Oh, but that's not welfare. That's subsidy. So for us, it's welfare. For them, they're job creators, so it's subsidy for national security interests. So print the money up and send it to them. Keep us going like that. Now, we can make our own stuff in America. Does that mean that jobs will really come back? Well, who took the jobs out of our country? It wasn't Donald Trump. It was, quote, as Bernie Sanders would say, the oligarchs took jobs out of our country, had them done in China, and then shipped the stuff back at a real cheap cost. They built it cheap in China, then send it back and they make all that money off of it.
I'll say it was former President Clinton under NAFTA.
Right. Well, hold on. That started it. And then with the World Trade Organization, they let China in 2001. Quote, now China took off from being the 8th largest economy to I think number 2. All right. We can make our own stuff. Do we?
So there's not enough. I can't define how hard I disagree with that statement.
No. I want you to, because this is all economic stuff. And so what has the past?
Do I agree with you that money can be printed out of thin air? Absolutely. I got that point, right? And I'm not, and I got you and Deuce's points both, and you both make valid points on each spectrum of your argument. What I would say, however, that operating in the real world where we are right now, money has value. It has value.
No.
Money has value. If it didn't, we wouldn't see the Dow.
Wait a minute. It has value.
S&P dropping, right? We wouldn't see people stressing out because they've
No,
lost.
wait. The people who are stressing out, wait a minute. The people who are stressing out are rich people or middle class. Poor people ain't stressing out. Poor people ain't had no money from the very beginning, so they ain't stressing out. So it's only hitting certain types of people because money is.
That's a weird statement to make, and I'll tell you why. Because the object is not for it's the working class and the poor who actually drive the economy and make the money, right? And I understand that the middle class primarily are the workers and the doers, but if we don't have a middle class and we are all poor class, we're vassals, and then capitalism has lost its actual texture and its tenure. And now we are absolutely in a monarchy, and we don't have the same type of situation we have. We no longer have capitalism, right?
No, you still have capitalism. As long as you have that Federal Reserve System, you want to have some capitalism.
Okay.
So,
but go ahead.
I think, God, we have to wait this out. And let's just see.
We can't afford to wait this out.
No, that's what some people want us to believe. So this is where it gets tricky with Trump. This is where it's a little tricky because you know that he's trying to maximize the value of his family, himself, his family, and his friends. That's the first thing. That's the number one thing. So how can he maximize his value along with his friends by doing this? I don't know. But that's what he's trying to do. And if he's not maximizing his value, he would never pass these tariffs to begin with. So somehow he's figuring, they said years ago, he always felt like the other countries take advantage of us. They send their stuff over, but when we try to send our cars to Germany or other places, they raise the tariffs on them so high they can't sell American cars in foreign countries. But yet
that's why we can't sell American cars. I think we don't sell American cars in foreign countries because the ingenuity is shit.
No, that's not true.
American cars are shit. Our trucks are dope, but our cars are shit.
No, this is a fact. That the tariffs on our cars when they go to Europe and other countries are so high we can't sell our cars. That's a fact.
Okay.
So he's not, this is where President Trump, he's not completely wrong. It's just the fact, when you see a person who lies to you, manipulates you, and says things that you feel are racial or just despicable, when he does tell the truth, you're like, I don't believe you. It's pissed me off.
All right, let me jump in on this, man, because y'all said some things that have, bruh, they are messing with my soul, man. First, let me see. I'm gonna go back from the memory bank. Let's talk about this car thing, man. American cars are pieces of trash, man. They're about as good as the Washington Wizards in the NBA, man. They are useless, about as useful as a wet blanket, man. That's how good American cars are. No country wants to buy them. And then you say that James made a point, ingenuity, and you were like, no, the tariffs, there is some imbalance with the tariffs or how our stuff going in is tariffs higher than the stuff coming out. But case in point, man, that car company out in China, BYD,
yes,
right? Electronic company,
yes,
they're making cars that like it came straight out the Jetsons,
yes,
out of the future, destroying Tesla. And what is Elon doing? Begging daddy not to let BYD enter the United States. And even before Trump, I can't even put it on him. Every other president has not allowed BYD, a superior company, to come in here because it would wreck and ultimately destroy Tesla, which is our pride and joy in the e-car commerce field, right? So that's one. Two.
Well,
gentlemen, right here, I got $100, right?
Before you go on that, it's not
on my rip. What you got?
Not Tesla. To me personally, there is another e-car that will dog Tesla in America. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not
Rivian or
no,
not Rivian.
No, in America, it starts with an L, right? And I'll tell you about it later. Lucid. They actually do dog walk Tesla. Those vehicles, they're 1,000 times.
Yeah, Lucid is, but Lucid still not BYD.
Oh yeah, you got some
right. Still not BYD. You're right. Lucid is nice.
$100. The $100.
Now, what is this?
Benjamin Franklin.
What's my camera at? What's that?
Franklin.
God damn it, Rich. You get my damn nerd. What's that?
Benjamin Franklin, $100 bill.
$100 bill.
It's a short.
It's only $100 bill because of our belief that it's a $100 bill, right? I could take that $100 bill and go out and buy $100 worth of tennis shoes, right? tennis shoe costs 100. I got $100 bill. We can make that exchange, right? Now, Rich, to your point, if America starts printing off money like crazy,
No.
people will lose faith in the value of that piece of paper. Then we lose our current system of exchange.
You gotta put your hand up to your camera and pull it back because you blurry because you had, yeah.
Oh man, I hate when it does that because see, I ain't getting $100 camera. I got a $30 camera. I got this Temu camera.
There you go. You back.
Yeah, okay. All right. I had to do it 3 times. But my bottom line is now I'll stop. I got to jump off the soapbox. Yes, Rich. Money is they just put it out of thin air, but there has to be some control mechanisms to it because if the people of the United States and the world start to think, wait a minute, y'all printing way too much too fast. That $100, I can use that as Charmin toilet paper.
Yeah.
I need to find another means to secure what I need. Dude, everything is topsy-turvy then. Because one of the things that make American dollar so strong is back to ore. Countries use the American dollar to exchange the most precious commodity on earth, ore. Right now.
Wait a minute.
That's a great point.
This is where me and Deuce are going to agree to a point. It's not just the fact that our money is valued. It's the fact that you carry nuclear bombs. And when you're the country with the most nuclear bombs, your money's going to, quote, weigh the most. So as long as you can put the fear of God into other countries, then you dictate the terms. This is what Donald Trump is saying. Now, China's like, we could care less about you, Donald Trump. We'll fight you to the very end. I think we have to let President Trump fight to the very end.
I don't think we have a choice.
I mean, okay. I agree with James. I don't think letting him fight to the very end is good for the country.
It's absolutely not.
The tariffs have only been in place for what, a month? You guys, a couple of weeks?
I can't even say that because it's nothing that's ever been consistent. It's red light, green light. That's I got that from Elizabeth.
Squid Games.
Yeah, it's nothing consistent. It's on, then it's off, and then oh no, I see that it's messing with bonds, so I got to pull it back off again. But I'm going to keep it on this part. Then I'll not make sure we have our thumb on this aspect. It's not been consistent, right? This is what it looks. This is what it looks like when you simply have concepts of ideas, right?
Throwback.
The issue is the issue that I see with this is that China again, they're garnering support. They're garnering support from the other Asian countries. If you look on your clothing tag, you'll see Malaysia, you'll see Singapore, you'll see China, you'll see Japan, you'll see all these other places where our textiles are made. Americans don't make shit. We don't make shit worthwhile. And if you're going to tariff everything, you should wait. You should wait until you have enough import. You've imported enough materials to begin to build the manufacturing plants where we should be getting back to work.
I don't think you can wait because Donald Trump doesn't have 20 years in the White House.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. We past that at this point.
Right. So Americans don't make stuff because the companies don't want you to make anything. They took all the work across the ocean. So you can't say Americans don't want to work or we don't make stuff because we don't control the companies. Now,
I don't want to work. I said we don't make shit.
Right. But we can't even say that because we don't control the companies. Only a few people control these major companies that do all this. And they took them over to China and to other Asian countries to get the product made in a cheap fashion. Then they bring it back over. So if anything, President Trump, you should have been going after those companies. So he's saying, well, I'm going to go after them by, quote, raising the tariffs. That's kind of like, and I hope Michelle or whoever's on here, when we send people back to other countries or here illegally, what we should also have done in step 2 was any company that hired somebody illegally, they should have got fined.
No, they should have been arrested right along with them. That's stolen goods.
hold on. The Republicans tried to get that national identification number so that anytime you work in America for any job, you have to verify that you're here legally. And the Democrats fought that off successfully.
Sure.
So I think with the tariffs, if you're going to talk that talk, then you gotta walk that walk. And he has to walk this walk for at least 6 to 8 months. If he crashes the whole economy, then let it crash. But he has to walk this long enough.
For what benefit? What's the benefit?
Well, everybody's saying this and that because you may be saying it honestly, James, about hey, this is not going to work. But some of these economists don't like Donald Trump, and they want to fight him on.
What's the benefit though? What's the benefit of wrecking the economy over an ego? Like
he's not trying to. Allegedly, to him, what he's trying to say is, we're not going to let you sell stuff in our country, and then we try to sell stuff in your country. We're not able to do it. We're going to put the tariffs on you the same way you put it on us.
I tell you what, if we're going to tell the story just like you said, we're going to tell it in its entirety. Why did the tariffs start?
Why did the who?
The tariffs start.
That was part of his campaign promise.
It's because of fentanyl.
Okay.
That's why the tariffs started. That's what Americans are forgetting. The lie about we just got to try we got to try and even the playing field. The lie has shifted. The tariffs initially started because of fentanyl. That was literally why it started. That's literally why we are here. And the lie has continued to shift because it's not working. The tariffs aren't working.
You don't know that. It just started in April. You don't know if the tariffs are working or not yet.
Well, then we'll in another few months, we'll ask Nebraska, since they're already bankrupt.
Once again, Rich, what are the benefits of the tariffs? What are the benefits of seeing this through? What are your anticipated benefits?
He claims that we'll be able to sell more stuff to other countries because, well, wait. Hold on,
I want you to continue that thought. Please.
He said by raising the tariffs on stuff coming into us, we'll be able to raise more revenue for the federal government. And that's going to pay for the tax cuts.
Sure.
That's what he says. Do I believe that?
Then why did he ask to raise the debt ceiling? But okay, let's continue.
But no, great point. That's a great point.
Going next. Not only did they ask to raise the debt ceiling, but the actual budget that they voted in, that they're putting in place, it's going to raise the national debt while our economy is crashing.
Right. And look, some Republicans who are fiscal hawks, they do not like it. But other Republicans
are not MAGA.
I can accept that.
It's almost like we're in a three-party system now.
Like that either, because they always hop on the Democrats. But this is how you know that both sides are playing the same game. How they're both controlled by, quote, the powers to be. So when you say, hey, if we print up too much money, people will lose faith in it. I don't think so. It's happened in multiple countries. That's not even that argument's been proven. It happened in Germany, I think, after World War I.
And it happened in Zimbabwe.
Okay, Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
But those are those countries. This is America. This is a different breeding ground.
No, because we went through a Great Depression as well.
Yeah.
Hold on. That was a man-made created depression.
What do you think?
So would printing more dollars be a man-made Great Depression? Because a man or a woman will be pushing that button to print those dollars.
Because when you're creating more money to help people, that's one thing. When you're creating money just to crash the economy, that's something different. So it's all about your righteous intentions when you create. So you can create things unrighteously and do damage, or you can create things for righteousness' sake and be just fine. Don't confuse it.
No, it's not. If you flood the system with more money, it deflates the value of what you have, right?
Yeah, and that's literally the balance.
Listen, you can go out here and create anything you want, but if you do it for righteousness' sake, it'll be just fine. When you do it for unrighteous intentions, that's when it's wrong.
The dollar has nothing to do with morals.
Yes, it does. Because hold on, go get that money. Pull up that dollar. Pull up that $100. No, wait. Pull out that $100 bill, and what does it say on there? In God we trust.
Which God?
You can put down on anything.
Yeah. What God are they talking about?
Okay. You know what? Y'all say this, but it tells you all the American money. In God we trust.
What
So
God?
when you create the money for
Would
righteousness,
be the Christian God, the American Christian God, because under the American Christian God, we were slaves for how long? Under the American Christian God, how many of us got hung? Under the American version of the Christian God, right? How many of our babies got eaten by alligators?
Hold on. That is a separate issue.
Oh, okay.
Issue.
Okay.
I like how you whipped that out.
Because I mean, I want to say the American dollar paid for those slaves too. The American dollar. Hey, what? Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Let me.
Pull out that $100 bill, and it tells you in God we trust.
It does.
In God we trust. Hold on. Wait now.
Look on the backside.
Okay. All right. In God we trust paid for slaves. In God we trust paid for those tomahawks to decimate the country so we can get Gaddafi.
And you know what?
In God we trust destabilized many regions of the United States. But I want to go back because Pivot King, Richard, Spin King. I want to go back to the tariffs, man. What greater good is coming from these tariffs? You mentioned one thing he said, talking about revenue for U.S. government, which we kind of debunked already. What other good? And you talked about how bringing manufacturing, you started to say that he said bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. would allow us to sell products to the world, correct? Were you about to say that?
No, what I was going to say is President Trump said he wanted to bring jobs back to the U.S. Now, does that mean that if those companies brought those jobs back, that they would, quote, really hire more people? Or would they use AI to do those jobs? No one knows.
I'm glad you said that.
So, like I said, I'm not from the Democratic side. I'm not from the Republican side. I'm on nobody's plantation. I'm in nobody's party. I have my own party. So I can look at it independently and say, hey.
Here's the thing that's funny to me. Apple, before the stock fall, was about to be a $3 trillion company. Apple's one of America's pride and joys. Apple CEO, along with Amazon CEO or founder, right? I don't know if he's still running it. Apple CEO, Meta CEO, all down there for the inauguration of the president, right? And they're all shaking hands. And I used to think that the oligarchs, those used to run America, but now these tariffs are hurting them. Even Elon Musk is speaking out against these tariffs. Yeah. Apple has not said that they're going to bring jobs back to America. Apple said they're going to look at other countries, Vietnam, India, to move their production out of China. They didn't say they were bringing it back.
Right.
The video cited the many layers and complexities to bring in manufacturing here in America. So none of the Magnificent 7 companies, Magnificent 8, not even going to add in the video, have said they're bringing production back to the States because it's expensive, because the infrastructure does not exist, because the trained people don't exist. It would take years to get us to the point where we can do that. And even when we do, or if we do, that product will innately be more expensive because they have to pay for all that infrastructure to get us from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Hold on. Listen to this.
And that, damn it, is economics.
So hold on, dudes. First, you say they increased the deficit, they raised the debt limit. Correct. So they didn't worry about money then. And then they tell you, well, we have to keep America strong, so we got to keep dumping billions upon billions of billions into the American military. Never enough. Keep dumping money into it. So there's never enough money to dump into the military. But yet we only have so much money we can dump into our technology so we can raise our young people so they'll have an opportunity to have a great paying job on American soil versus running around doing all kinds of stuff. So there's always money for the military to create wars, but there's not enough money for healthcare. There's not enough money to create long-term sustainable jobs. I got
a question for you, Rich. What makes you a dangerous adversary of the group of people that outed you from the local 100? What is your most valuable asset? You as a person, what's your most valuable attribute?
You can't break me. You can't buy you can't offer me money and say, well, hey, Richard, take this pay cut or take this money and then screw over your people. I won't do that because I wasn't.
Okay, so that, and what about your intellect?
Intellect's just fine. I mean, I'm no dumber, no smarter than anyone else, but I have a belief system based in righteousness. You can't buy out. Listen, James knows this. You couldn't buy out his mother. So certain people, you just can't come by us.
So could you recognize a crook trying to come and buy you out?
It's not really so much a crook. It's just the fact, if you put 2 cookies in front of me and say, hey, don't eat those 2 cookies, I'm going to eat those 2 cookies.
That's discipline.
If you put $10,000 in front of me and say, well, that's Fat's money. When Fat comes back tomorrow, he'll come pick it up. That shit going to be right there tomorrow when he comes and picks it up. Now, somebody else may say, well, hey, man, you know, my electric bill is a little short. You know, my car needs some maintenance on it, man. I'll get the money back to you. You know, they do all this. I ain't doing none of that shit. But I knew from a child, when it comes to money, I'm very strict. I'm not going to steal your money. But everybody's not doing.
Let me ask you this. All right, so not corrupt. If you had to list 3 attributes to make you a great local 100 leader, what would it be?
The great local 1000 president?
Yeah.
Integrity, transparent, and I'm going to treat everyone with equal love and respect.
And would you also say your knowledge of labor laws? Because you mentioned some of them in the show sometimes.
No, because I don't know every labor law. I don't know every California Corporations Code. I don't know every single thing there is to know about unions in America. I don't know this. But what I do know is this. When you elect me and I say we're getting a pay increase, that's what we're doing. We're negotiating good faith, reach a legal impasse, and we're going to shut the state down. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. You're not going to rape the people that I'm leading, period.
So you have plans in place to implement what the union people want, right?
When I was over there, we had a strike fund. That money may be gone now that I've been out there for so many years. But what I'm simply saying, when you have integrity, when you have vision, and you know you were created for that, and this is what I knew I was created for. So if you go to the house of God and look at all the ministers of all the different faiths, you may have 10% who won't steal the money. The other ones, they're going to take a little extra here and there. They didn't mean to, but they're going to take that money. Because money is hard, it's a temptation.
It is.
That you can't overcome unless you were created specially for that. And so people like Dr. King, you know, womanizer, maybe. Was he perfect? No. But we got to shoot him because he will not follow suit. He will not do like we tell him to do. Malcolm X, get him out.
No, you're right. I'm gonna cut to the chase because you got me feeling like Elmer Fudd and you Bugs Bunny. I was trying to lay a trap down for you, but you didn't jump into it, right? So what I was gonna say, what I would say for both of you gentlemen, a lot of those things I agree with them, true. But both of y'all are also, I would say, intelligent, smart, thoughtful men, right? Okay, then I guess one of you is intelligent, smart, thoughtful man, right? A man. Here's my thing. Your point was money. Put it in the military. Why can't we put it into tech to make more capable workers, more capable employees? They don't want a smart population because a smart population is hard to misguide. A smart population is difficult to manipulate, right? They want us dumber, which is why one of the first things that was done was to disband the Department of Education, which does not control curriculum, but helps pay for a lot of these education. It funds money to the education system.
Okay.
Right? It's a money conduit is what it is. Disband it, you cut off the money, hurt. These premier universities, Harvard and I forgot what, Columbia, threaten them with money, right? To keep the people in line. Because they don't want a smart population, man, because it's easier to control idiots.
I think that's a two-way street because you're right, but you can't have people on college campuses not having peaceful protests and keeping students from going to class. You can't do that either. So you're right on that aspect. Those who feel that the anti-Semitism had gotten so great, I think they're right as well. And I think President Trump was like, oh, I can get back at some of these universities who don't really like me anyway.
Yeah. And
I can stay close to my Jewish colleagues because my daughter is married to a
I don't think he respects him.
Orthodox.
But yeah.
He's Orthodox. No, not Orthodox. He's a conservative Jew.
Kushner, Jared,
Yeah, Jared Kushner. So
Kushner.
I can stay close to Israel.
Ashkenazi.
Okay. Walk away from that. So, I know. Trust me, original Hebrew, baby. So he's doing all these different things. That's why I said he's a little tricky. But this tariff situation, this is major. This is almost as major as anything he's going to do. He's calling the country's bluff by saying, I'm going to raise the tariffs. He's blinked once or twice already. He says Mexico and Canada kind of said, hey, let's work this out. So he kind of walked out of that one. China, he ain't walking out of. He's screwed on China. So China, we can wait you out. We can wait you out. If he allows China to wait us out and beat us, we're in trouble. And the last time I checked, I have confidence in my European Americans. They don't like to lose in nothing.
I got that, but we're dealing with a country that's based off of dynasties that are steeped in war, and not just war, but they've mastered the science and arts behind it, and subtleties that are ridiculous. Again, just looking and reading, understanding the art of war by Sun Tzu. These are precepts and concepts that they do. This is a part of a specific culture that they have, they practice.
I tell you what, mark the calendar. I respect the Chinese. I never have read that book, but I respect the Chinese. I respect everyone. I'll take my chance with the CIA.
Rich, you don't respect everyone.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. You don't respect it. You don't respect economists.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
No, you don't, man. You keep saying what they do is fake.
You know what?
You compare them to Harry Potter fans.
I'm going to know right now. Who in your family is the banker, the economist? Do they work for the Fed? I want to know.
Oh, no.
Don't answer that question. I think he's a CIA agent, Pat. He's been sitting here to spy on me.
No. Oh, no. Well, gentlemen, we are at an hour 42. That's a great topic. Great discussion tonight. And every now and again, I have to play.
Can I say one thing? I'm saving for my final topic. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. Every now and again, I play devil's advocate. I think it's something that we should do collectively, just to test boundaries and to actually make people stay on prove your point. If you say you believe something, think about it from multiple different facets of speaking, right? So with that being said, we pushing forward to final thoughts. It's been a long night. It's been a great discussion. That's last week I played a rerun of the week before we missed one, but I think this is a great way to bring it back. Perfect topics. And next week we will be honoring the financial month, financial responsibility, fiscal responsibility month, which is April, and we'll have some guests, and I'm excited to bring them to this panel because this panel has a different feel of questions when it comes to financial fiscal responsibility and the pillars. So I'm excited for them to come next week, and so we don't even got to meet Monday. Right, I ain't got to try calling my partner at 9 o'clock, since he said that's when he's available, and get text messages like, hey man, give me a second, I'm gonna call you back. I'm gonna call you.
Dang, Rich, that's messed up.
Oh, but I think in the future, it's something that we should, depending on our schedules, moving the show from 9 Eastern Standard to the left to try and get it a little bit earlier so it doesn't go too far into the evening. It's 10:47
like that.
You
Here.
want to go an hour earlier?
We'll figure that. We'll come back and figure that out, and we'll
like that too.
You go at 5 o'clock my time.
Yeah, and we'll get it marked up just so we can when we do have long conversations, we're not burning the midnight oil essentially.
Gotcha.
But with that being said, let's hit final thoughts. Rich, looks like it's on you first.
Okay, so here we go.
Here we go.
Patience is a virtue. I must practice what I preach. Time will reveal what is in store for all of us, not just individually, but for the country as well, regarding the tariffs, also regarding Mr. Garcia. You know, our country is at a crossroads. Do we want to go back in the past, or do we want to go into the future? Or should we take the good things from the past along with the better things of the future and merge them together? That's the question. But as long as we keep voting in the same people from one of the two major parties, you get the same result. The status quo will always be here until you address the deep issues of what's more important, building a stronger military, or can you build a strong military and create jobs for people, create long-term sustainable jobs that everyone wants to take part of? Can you do both? I say yes, we can in our country. I'm Richard Lewis Brown. I approve this.
1,000 local 1,000 president right there. You heard it first.
That's right.
Local 1,000,
Let's
baby.
go.
Hey,
Let's
All
go.
right.
Local 1,000.
that's it. All right, Deuce.
1,000.
All right. Well, I 1,000% agree with my boy's statement, but let's talk about numbers, man. Since January 20 to now, $11.1 trillion.
That's not $2 billion.
$11.1 trillion. That's what's been lost in the U.S. economy and the market since January 20. I'll let you decide what else happened in January and to now. 11.1 trillion. A lot of people's 401k, TSPs, individual savings accounts are tied to the market. A lot of people are having to make some hard decisions about whether to retire or not, all wait it out, right? I feel as though when justice is ignored and economic policies are weaponized, it's a warning. And that we all need to pay attention, because I feel as though with people getting deported left and right, what's happening today, it shapes who will be allowed into tomorrow. So I'm gonna end it with that.
I can dig it. I can dig it. And so to kind of pick up and run with what you were saying, I don't think that America is in a constitutional crisis. I really don't. I think we are in a societal reflection. And I say that because we are looking at a mirror image that's being projected to globally of what America actually is and it looks like. And it's simply the reason why it hurts is because the people that never believed that America looked the way it looked and they're seeing the ugliness of it, it's starting to hurt their feelings. It's starting to sink in. It's starting to become real. It's starting to affect them. We've always been there. There have been certain segments of American society that have always been in a crisis when it comes to the Constitution. What's happened is the global reality of the fictitious narrative, the ill parts of the fictitious narrative of American exceptionalism. That's what we're seeing. We've celebrated our celebrities way too much, and we voted in criminals, and we thought that criminality did not look the same on that side of the fence. And now we're seeing it run rampant globally, and we can't believe it. And we were caught off guard. And if we would have known that this would have happened, we might have changed our vote. We might not have. However, there are some people that are doubling down and they're saying that it's worth it. And the question becomes, Americans, why are you apprehensive about allowing all Americans explore, feel, and live within the limits of the Constitution unabridged? Why is that your fear? Why is equality a fear? Why is equity a fear? Why is the administrating of laws equally and impartially a fear? Why is it propagandized and capitalized on that a certain segment of American society has more of a criminal portion than the other, when the other is actually committing more of the criminal actions than the opposite. This is a societal reflection. That's what's happening. And we don't like it. We don't like it as a society. And we have the option, Americans, we have the option of doing better. But the only way for us to be able to do better is by looking in that mirror and seeing the ugliness and dealing with it. Maybe we need to work out a little more. Maybe we need to change our diet. Maybe we need to drink more water. Maybe we need to pray more. Maybe we need to meditate. There's a lot of stuff that we need to do, but what I know for sure, America, is what we're doing right now, it ain't working. It's not working. And it's uncomfortable. We can't go back to the 1950s, the 1930s, the 1920s. We are no longer functioning in that capacity. The jobs aren't going to look the way they used to in the past. Progression and evolution hurt. And this is becoming a progressive and an evolutionary point of learning. That's what's happening. So with that being said, America, we can actually, we can turn out, if we dig in and we actually do some soul searching as a country, we can be great for the first time. Not again. And with that, those are my final thoughts. All right, family. That was we're almost at two hours. So yeah. We got to figure something out.
Yes.
Wait, on or
Yes.
off?
Say again?
Are we off? Are we off?
Not yet. Well, yeah, I will close this out. I'll close this out real quick. As usual, family, thank y'all for coming out, hanging out with us. We absolutely appreciate it. It's been a while. Y'all been hanging out with us and hanging on. So with that being said, thank you for coming out. God bless and good night.